Hi, Ed 407507. Welcome to class session number 7. Let's go ahead and take a look at our class agenda for this week. We're going to go over assignments due, new assignments, problem solving, break, continue with the new topic of problem solving, and wrap things up with typology and the closing. Just a reminder about your lesson plan for a math project as you are working to really get this all done for this coming few weeks. Once again, here are my expectations of that lesson plan project. Assignments that are due, I expect Chapter 6 and Skim section of 2. Hudson and Miller take Chapter 6 quiz. The declarative lesson plan and the discussion board on integers are all due as of Tuesday, the March 1st, so make sure you have this completed. New assignments are to utilize this time this week to work on your math project, do the typology quiz, watch the video. There's no password for that video. Take the Hudson and Miller Section 2 quiz and do the 2 discussion boards in Blackboard. We're going to go ahead and jump into problem solving. Dr. Marjorie Montague states many students, especially students with learning disabilities, have difficulty solving math word problems because they often cannot decide what to do to solve the problem. Most of our textbooks are not very helpful when it comes to teaching students the how-to. So typically there are 4-step formulas within textbooks. You got to read the problem, decide what to do, compute, and then check your answer. Understanding the problem is the core behind reading the problem. Then to decide what skills and strategies are needed to solve becomes the issue for LD students. They might not have the acquired background knowledge to solve independently. Therefore, they require your direct, explicit instruction. So here's the framework. Keep the following questions in mind when you solve a word problem. This is using your metacognition. How do good problem solvers solve math problems? Why is it so difficult to teach students to be good math problem solvers? What is the content of math problem solving instruction? And what are the effective instructional procedures for teaching math problem solving? Well, there are 2 stages for problem solving. The problem representation. According to research, one of the most powerful problem representation strategies is the visualization. This typically develops for children between the ages of 8 and 11. So keep this in mind if you're working with a student who's younger. They might have a difficulty with this. Also, keep in mind those individuals who cognitively are really struggling. Also, keep in mind if you have information on how they visually process something, might also have to impact to you what way to get this across the best, whether it's a hand-on, whether it's demonstration, whether it's just talking it through, etc. And then there's also problem execution. I want you to think of this problem solving activity. You're not going to actually do the activity, but I just want to present it to you. So I always love when kids do show and tell, and I just thought this was a really cute activity to do a show and tell. Let's take a word problem such as the art club is having a cookie sale. Each box of cookies costs $2. The first day, Jennifer sold 6 boxes, Marvin sold 7, and Cassandra sold 3. How much did the art club make the first day of cookie sales? If the group continues selling at the same rate, what will they make for an entire week? Include weekends. Okay, now I have really broken down this word problem and there's a lot of parts to it. One of the things that students will really struggle with is just even the reading of different names, getting that visual image. So here's something that you can do to actually make this very concrete and easy for them to follow along in order to solve that higher order thinking skill if they continued throughout the entire week. So you can make them a lot easier by actually putting in pictures. So for example, the kids' art, they're kind of painting, club is having a cookie sale. Each box of cookies costs $2. The first day they sold, and then it breaks it down. This is how many boxes Jennifer sold, this is how many Marvin sold, and Cassandra sold. So how much did they make that day? Well, obviously I can add that up and determine how much they made in one day just by counting the pictures hands-on, right? Then I can move on to figuring out how many they would sell in a week. So you could even do something like this. It's very basic, but you could even bring in actual cookies. I mean, you can make it very, very clear and understandable for your students, and they might really enjoy that hands-on visual component to figuring it out. Then try giving them a word problem where they don't have it and see how they perform. The definition of a problem solving is a process that involves applying your knowledge, skills, and strategies to novel problems. The rationale is that this increases the emphasis of problem solving and reasoning per the NCTM standards. used extensively in the workplace, daily living, and leisure activities. That's the one thing. If you can really make these word problems relate to stuff they already do or things that they might do, that is really going to make a huge difference for these students. Making that real world problem solving example where it happens in a workplace. For example, determining pay, figuring out overtime, handling money. In daily living, it could be balancing a checkbook, measuring recipe quantities, or telling time. In leisurely activities, it could be playing board games, determining gas mileage, keeping score in sports, etc. By the way, this reminds me that I need to give you the password for this week's session, and the password is the word typology. So please send that to me via email, as we will be discussing that word quite a bit throughout this week. To continue, students with learning disabilities in math have more difficulty with word problems, and here are some of the common barriers that is why they struggle. They can't identify that relevant information. We talked about that before. I believe at our last live class session, we talked about giving students the tools to figuring out what trash is in a word problem, things that doesn't apply to them, basically. Reading the problem is a huge barrier. Identifying appropriate operations. Do you add? Do you subtract? Do you multiply? Do you divide? Etc. Performing the computation, clearly that's sometimes always a big indicator to them having a struggle. Translating words to equations, actually setting up the word problem to an actual equation. And last but not least is performing high level of reasoning, which we're going to get to when we discuss typology when you watch that video a little bit later. Word problems, you have to understand the procedural strategies. You have to understand the schema-based instructions, schema diagrams to represent word problems. Primarily, there's two components. Identify the problem schema, and then write critical information on a diagram or labeling. And using the number family approach, where obviously number families interact with each other, so most problems are figured out that way and can be solved by just setting up a number family, basically. Use an explicit teaching cycle with each approach. I've given you in this PowerPoint a variety of different websites that you can go to create online worksheets to deal with problem solving. And don't forget Sue O'Connell's down here. It's wonderful. You do have to pay for it, but there's a way to really easily write your own word problems. Typology. You will need to go ahead and watch the video that I've made specifically about this, but I included it here as well just to keep in your memory of what these different types of word problems are. I went into addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, and this is something that you can even share with your students to figuring out what type of problem it's asking and why it's asking that. Last but not least, I wanted to let you know about the graduate project presentation times. I am going to determine a schedule when we meet live at our next meeting on March 16th, so please be keeping that in mind and talk with your group. Maybe have that kind of planned out before coming to class. We will do presentations the week 14 and week 15 of the semester, which obviously are the last 2 weeks. So please keep that in mind and kind of game plan with what you want to do with your group for your presentations. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. And if you have questions about anything else, as always, please let me know. I hope this really helps in your understanding about problem solving and where to go from here. Please watch the typology video next. Thanks.